Hey everyone, it's Anthony back for another video. And in today's video, I want to break down what the day in the life looks like as a tech sales BDR. So a lot of you guys are wondering, should I do this as a career? Will I actually enjoy the job? So if you're here for that reason, this video is exactly for you. I want to break down exactly what their day in the life looks like so that you guys can see whether or not if this is the right career for you guys. So stick around, go and stay till the end of the video, and I'll be breaking down exactly what they do and whether or not this role is the right fit for you or not. So the first part of my morning, I usually start the days around 8 o'clock a.m. back when I was a BDR. And typically between the hours of 8 to 9 o'clock a.m., this is really when I'm doing the admin work because typically prospects, they're, let's say in the West Coast and you're based out in the East Coast, you can't really making dials yet because, someone's going to be, at 6 o'clock a.m. in the West Coast or even 5 a.m. in the West Coast. So it's typically not a good idea to do cold calls. So what I typically take this time to do is the admin related tasks. So think of this time as a period where I go through all of my emails, I'm doing my email follow-ups, I'm targeting accounts and doing research on accounts and deciding, which accounts I want to tackle for the day. But really that period between 8 and 9, it's really just organizing your day because being a BDR, it's really a high volume game where you're going after a lot of prospects and a lot of accounts. And you really want to focus this time to stay organized because the key to being a successful BDR, for one, is having that organizational skill to make sure that you're spending the right time and efforts on the right accounts and the right prospects. So between the hours of 8 and 9, I focus mainly on admin work, clearing out my inbox and doing those follow-ups and deciding which accounts I want to tackle for the day. So once I have a plan of action of what accounts and what prospects I want to tackle for the day, I'm dedicating the next, 2 to 3 hours really to dedicated to prospecting. And one of the key areas of prospecting is understanding where your prospects live. So if you're selling to a more blue collar industry, think construction type of environments, those type of prospects are likely more accessible through their phones. So cold calling is the best method to get them. But if you're selling, for instance, a more technical product like a cloud services or developer solutions, they're going to be likely more on LinkedIn. So you want to be prospecting more of your focus on LinkedIn or emailing. So the next 2 to 3 hours is really reserved for, no distractions. I'm turning off my phones. I'm not really having notifications on Slack or anything. I'm really dedicating that to purely cold calling or cold emailing or cold LinkedIn messaging with my prospects. And this is a big part of it because this is where a lot of BDRs will fail because they don't have that consistency or the discipline to prospect every single day, day in, day out, 2 to 3 hours a day during these what we call prospecting blocks, right? Because if you don't have that discipline to do it, you're ultimately going to fail. But what makes you not fail is putting in the work. Because when you think about sales and prospecting and being that BDR, what you're really creating and what you're really doing is building up a sales pipeline. Because some prospect are not ready to talk to you, but they might be ready to talk to you 2 or 3 months from now. But some prospects, they're ready to talk to you today and right now or the following day. So it's always important to stay organized and to kind of plan that out and to dedicate that time so that you're really building up that pipeline so that you have these consistent qualified meetings that you're sending to your account executives, which are your closers and tech sales, so that they can maintain a healthy pipeline as well. So between the hours of 9 a.m. to 12 or 1 p.m., I'm really focusing on peer prospecting and really putting that hours in because as a BDR, if you're not essentially prospecting, you're essentially dying because that's essentially the number one activity that is going to dictate your success as a tech sales BDR. So after really grinding it out for 2 to 3 hours of pure prospecting, I like to take a break. I go for a quick lunch, a quick walk, clear my head. And in the afternoons, typically this is when I have things like meetings that I set up with my account executives with the prospects, right? So these are the calls where they're going on, your account executives are taking a lead, they're qualifying your prospect and seeing if they can move that prospect along that deal cycle. And it's a really great chance for you as a BDR to sit on these meetings. Sometimes it's not a requirement, but I highly recommend that you do so because it's a great learning experience because most SDRs and BDRs will want to become account executives or closers. That's a natural career progression in tech sales. So learning the ropes and shadowing under an experienced AE is an excellent way to, grow your brand and also to learn, how they're, qualifying the prospect, what type of questions they're asking, how they're quantifying the pain, and how they're really advancing that deal, because that's something that you aren't doing as a BDR. And the second reason why you should be sitting on these meetings is really because your account executives are the ones that are going to qualify your meetings, right? Your meeting has to, meet 3 or 4 criteria to be considered a qualified meetings. Sometimes your account executives will push back and say, hey, this meeting is not really a good meeting. I'm going to reject it. And they're essentially the hand that feeds you. So if you are in the meeting and you're taking notes and you're really understanding, what's happening in that meeting, you have the ability to rebuttal and to help convince them that this should be a qualified meeting. So that's really another part of my day. It's really spent in meetings that I book with my account executives back when I was a BDR. So the next part about being a tech sales BDR is really the internal meetings. So this is where you're meeting with your senior leadership, your direct BDR manager, your directors, and also your other coworkers as well. And typically in these meetings, especially your own team meeting, you're really just going through your KPIs. So your manager is going to be asking you about, how many cold calls you did, what your activity looks like for your cold emailing, and also your forecast as well. So you're going to predict how many meetings or qualified meetings you're going to bring in for the month, so they can properly forecast this to their boss or their boss's bosses. Right. So that's kind of like another part of being a tech sales BR, is those internal team meetings to discuss things like that. And also for things like enablement. So sometimes you might have product enablement where a new feature will come out and they're going to explain to you, how you sell it or how to get trained up on it. And having these internal team meetings is a really good way to get to know your boss and also your colleagues better. And the reason I say this is because one day yourself or your colleagues are going to leave the company, because no one really stays in one job for the rest of their life anymore. That's kind of like a boomer thing. And when they move into those companies, or you do, they can always reach out to you, or you can always reach out to them for referrals for your next job. So once you really get into the tech sales industry and really break in, you're really set for life, because you're going to build that network naturally through getting to know your own coworkers and being friends. And once they leave the company or you leave the company, you're always happy to refer them. And people and hiring managers are always going to hire and take into consideration of the people that you refer if you are a good candidate or a good tech sales professional. So that's really another part of the day in the life of what it means to be a tech sales BDR. And lastly, a day in the life of a BDR. If you are the more experienced BDR and you're crushing your numbers, and really the next natural progression is looking for that career promotion to an AE role. So once you get really good at your job and you're more efficient with your times and you're able to, hit and exceed your numbers, and you still have leftover time in a day. Back when I was a BDR, this was really focused on how do I up level my skill to become an account executive, right? So this is, taking the sales courses, taking AE training, reading the right books, and internally networking within the company, so that, when that next role opens up, you're the next name in the hat that they will interview for that account executive role. So that's really it, guys. That's really kind of all I wanted to share with you guys today in terms of, what it is like to be a tech sales BDR in very large companies that I've worked for back when I was a BDR. If you guys like this video, I just want you guys to hit the subscribe button, like this video, because it's free and it also helps me to produce more content like this. But other than that, guys, I really appreciate the support, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.